there. So today I'm talking about a question that I've been getting a ton since I shared on Instagram I want to say a couple months ago, that we are not vegan anymore. So my family and I do not eat a plant-based diet anymore. We did start incorporating animal products, animal fats, animal proteins into our diet. So a lot of you guys want to know why, and today I'm going to share with you the reasons why and a little update on how we're doing. So one of the first things that I made sure to share when I did decide to go vegan 5 years ago, I want to say it was about 6 years ago. My oldest was only 3 months old, 4 months old, and we were thinking about starting solids, and I knew that I wanted her to eat a very healthy diet. I wanted to show her that plant-based foods and whole foods are the way to go. And so back then, veganism was extremely popular. It still is, but it was something that I had researched pretty in depth, and I was very interested in making our own food, and so I dove into veganism. We ate whole foods for the most part. We didn't eat a lot of processed food, especially when she was little. There wasn't a lot of temptation. We didn't go to places where there would be a boxed snack or juice or whatever. So 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we went vegan, I just had plans of really showing her whole foods. One of the things that I found to be so important when people asked me about my daughter and how it was going with me being vegan and with her being vegan as a baby, one of the questions that I got super often was about whether or not I would want her to continue to be vegan into, young adulthood, into childhood. And so one of the things I noticed as she got older was that she was very interested in trying meat, trying eggs, dairy, and I knew that this would be something that would be pretty prominent since we live in a culture that accepts not only convenience food, but animal products are pretty widely available. So with my husband not being vegan, she was exposed to those pretty young, and we always did a really good job of educating her, I feel like, and we explained to her that where food comes from and where a meat comes from, and that it is an animal. And so we've been pretty transparent with her from the beginning, but one of the things I was pretty set on was not forcing her into anything. And so as she got older, she definitely wanted to start trying those foods. Now, is that why I'm not vegan? No. I have other reasons for switching around my diet, and I'll share those in a minute. But I do want to say that one of the biggest things was my daughter's interest, and not only her interest, but her needs. She has MTHFR, and MTHFR is a gene where you do need quite a bit of B12. And so B12 only comes from animal form. You can supplement B12, but her body was clearly craving these animal products. So that was one of the things that I, right off the bat, as soon as she was asking for the meat and the beef and eggs, I didn't withhold those things from her, because I pretty much had to choose, do I want to be an activist, or do I want to be a mom who is going to nourish her children the way they need to be nourished? And if you follow me, you know that my number one is making sure that my children have what they need. I dedicate my life and my days to making sure that my children's needs are met. So that means if I'm having to choose between vegan activism or my children's needs, their needs come first. So that is kind of what set it all off. Now, here I am, using cultured butter, raw dairy, grass-fed beef. I'm researching regenerative farming. So there's a lot of things that are going on now that are not related to my daughter's specific needs for protein and fats and all of that. That was just kind of what set me off into researching a little bit more and saying, okay, her body is showing me that she needs these things. So then I started kind of researching regenerative farming and researching different diets that were not necessarily veganism. So then, after I started incorporating eggs into her diet, I was surprised at how quickly she caught on to wanting to eat them. She clearly was craving animal fat. And then we started incorporating pastured butter. And I'm sure you guys know this, but I was very, and still am, very picky about the source from which the food comes from. So that is something that I will say I haven't given up on. One of the things that I loved about veganism and eating a plant-based diet was that my children were getting whole foods regularly. We were eating a lot of vegetables. But something else that I did notice was with veganism, I was wanting to buy a lot of the pre-made cheeses, the pre-made meats, and I never really craved those, but for some reason, after I got pregnant with my now 3-year-old, I felt my body wanting more fat, especially with breastfeeding. I'm still breastfeeding my 3-year-old, so very, very little, but my body craves fat. And so that was one of the things that I noticed as soon as I started incorporating animal fats. I kind of felt better. I felt fuller longer, and I was not craving sugar. We were eating towards the end of our veganism journey, we were eating a lot of sugar. And I know that that's not the case for everyone. There are vegans that are so good about making all of their food from scratch. They're making black bean meatballs, which we do often. We made walnut taco meat. I mean, we were eating and making a lot of foods that from scratch, and that was great. But I was noticing that the fats that I got from nuts were different from the fats I would get from animal products. So I do want to point out that we don't eat as much sugar as we did when we were vegan. We don't eat as many nuts and seeds. Now, we still eat a lot of nuts and seeds, but I found that my skin was starting to get kind of inflamed because I was eating so many nuts. And the other thing we were eating a lot of is hydrogenated oils, and there's a whole other tangent I could go off on about omegas and omega-6s and omega-3s and all of these things. But basically, I was just kind of tired of eating cheeses made with hydrogenated oils, modified potato starch. I mean, at the end of the day, my goal is whole foods and real food. And even if that means animal products, that's where we're at right now. One thing I do want to say is that your diet and your family, you guys are so unique. You have your own specific needs for your family, for your children, for your body. When I shared my supplements, I wanted to kind of drive home the point that you should be choosing supplements for you based on your blood work, based on your meetings with your doctors or your naturopathic doctor. It's so important to be choosing a diet and choosing your supplements or your lifestyle based on your body's specific needs. And that's kind of where I landed. That's where I've landed now is I am doing a food sensitivity test so I can see if I'm sensitive to anything, but I am not sensitive to dairy. I'm not sensitive to eggs as far as I know. Same for my daughters. But we do thrive on a protein-rich diet. We thrive on a diet rich in fats. And I would just recommend doing your own research if you can. I know everyone will say that. If you're vegan, they'll say do your own research, but I've landed in that I'm doing what's best for our family. And not only that, but I'm also researching a lot about regenerative farming and how having a chicken and a cow on the land where your wheat or your food is grown is actually a cycle. And yeah, I could go on, but it's really interesting how many years ago, a farmer's space and land was used in harmony. And I love that idea of the harmony of everything working together. As I get older and I mature more and I do more research, my preferences and my lifestyle changes. I never thought I would homeschool. I was a public school teacher. And I loved the idea of sending my daughter to school with me and seeing her after school. But we actually are a homeschool family and we don't have any plans to put my kids in public school. So things change as you grow and develop and learn new things. And I think it's important for all families, all mothers to consider that. So that's where we're at. So I've mentioned this before, but we shop for groceries at a local co-op. So we support our local farmers by buying our fruits and veggies grown there or grown at places that the co-op partners with. And then we also buy a lot of our beef and chicken from local sources. So we have a market that raises chickens and they raise pastured eggs, and so we support them. And then same for our beef. Our favorite farm that has beef is Deck Family Farm. They are located just a few miles south of us, and they sell products in our co-op. So if I could recommend anything to you, if you think that you want to change your diet, you're not sure where to start, definitely go for products that are sourced locally to you, even if they don't say organic. Talk with the people around you, the farmers around you, talk with the source and ask them, do you feed your cows grain? Are they grass-fed, grass-finished? This is all stuff that I had to kind of learn because I haven't eaten meat in a really long time. But the source is important, and I do want to kind of drive that point home that it is important where your food is coming from, and that hasn't changed, and I really want my daughters to realize that. So some of the positives that have come out of being vegan was that my daughters know where our food comes from. So they ate a ton of veggies. They still do. They got the opportunity to try a lot of veggies, and we've actually grown a lot of our own vegetables too, so they've been able to see where the food comes from. It just doesn't sit in a grocery store. So that's one of my favorite things. And then they also have learned where meat comes from. We are completely transparent about that. I do not want them to find out someday that their food is dead animals. I want them to know. And so far, you know, you see those horror stories of like kids finding out that it's a dead animal. And so far, my daughters haven't shown any reaction to that. Because they see where their food comes from and they know where it comes from. We read books like Little House on the Prairie that talks about how we had to nourish our bodies. So another thing is that it really helped me cut out sugar. So I really was eating so much refined sugar and having so many sugar cravings. And I read that having sugar cravings means you're not getting enough protein. And so when you're having so many sugar cravings at night, especially, it means you didn't have enough protein during the day. And I was finding that I really was craving quite a bit of sugar. So my skin is a lot better. I'm not eating a ton of sugar. But I will say being vegan helped me learn how to cook. It helped me learn how to prepare food for my family because I didn't really know how to do that. Meat, no meat, dairy, no dairy. I didn't know how to put a recipe together and create a recipe from scratch. And it's been really nice knowing and learning all of that. Having to cook food without eggs and without dairy, I had to get creative about my recipes. And I still enjoy when I don't have eggs in my fridge. I enjoy throwing together a quick baked good from flax eggs or bananas as the binder. So yeah, I guess just to sum it all up, it's okay to not be vegan. It's okay to be vegan. When I was vegan, I didn't force it upon all my non-vegan friends. I think it's important to choose what's best for your family. And all of my claims that I've made today are just things that I think and I have read from my research. I highly recommend you check out regenerative farming because I think I still have a huge problem with big agriculture, and I don't like how we are treating our land. I don't like how we're treating animals, and I think that there's a better way to farm so that we can feed the whole world, but that is a discussion for another day. So I hope that this video was helpful for you in giving you a few insights on why I decided to change our diet. And if you have any questions, let me know. I just want to remind you to be kind and understand that everyone has different needs and different unique preferences and lifestyles. So in the spirit of that, I'm going to end this video. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.